Next, we'll welcome Dr. Pedro-Jose Lopez, who recently transitioned from a long-term practice in Chile and now is the head of pediatric urology at Rainbow Children's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. Dr. Lopez is passionate about supporting seamless adolescent transitions and leadership in medical education. Dr. Lopez combines advanced surgical expertise with a compassionate and patient-centered approach, recognizing the unique stories and needs of each child and family he serves. Dr. Lopez will be discussing the importance of standardizing the definition of continence within bladder extraction. Thank you.
How are you doing? Thank you for staying after lunch. I know it's a sunny, lovely day outside and we are here, so I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful to be here with you. It's the first time I've been in this kind of meetings. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Pam, for the opportunity. And I hope that we can discuss a little bit about something that we are really passionate about. That I have nothing to disclose, except that I like this topic really, really much. This is South America. The long, thin lights are Chile. The red star is Santiago, where I come from. Of course, everybody showed the best picture of the city. This is Santiago. I hope that you can visit that if you haven't. And sometime last year, I arrived to Cleveland, Rainbow Babies Children's Hospital, and to work with my partner who I invited in this experience from Argentina, Juan Moldes, and we're starting developing a program there that has been there for long time ago. If we talk about pediatric urology, I like to think that we have 3 levels of complexity. And probably today we are talking about the top last level as someone who was here before me said, this is a real condition, and it is. And when I was starting here in a meeting, and probably this was a long time ago, Philip Ransley, a very famous pediatric, challenged the room with this. And probably the most challenging part was to get someone dry during the day, during the night, have a whole movie without going to the toilet, without leaking. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have here facing the patient with bladder exstrophy. When we're thinking about continence, it's something that it's there with us probably all our life. And if we took the normal life in a normal person, everybody would start with nappies or diapers at the beginning, and we will finish with diapers at the end of life at some point. And with patients with bladder exstrophy, we have to deal when we can remove these diapers. Hopefully we don't have it again. And that is something that we would like to see. But to start seeing that, and this is why we presented briefly a work that we did with Ted and Melissa, that she was around and part of my team, we searched trying to define what is continence, because we realized that probably this is one of the major issues that we have in this kind of studies. So we went to do a systematic review, and we searched for the last 24 years of publication about this. Every single paper that has more than 5 patients that can describe, define, or talk about continence and has less than 30 years old patients being involved. And we have 2 main goals. Try to see what's the definition of continence published outside and what are the continence rate, because we know that depending who are reading we will define continence in 80, 50, 30% of the patients. And what about patients that can void voluntarily? So the research team went to over 1,500 papers to look at that. And at the end, after inclusion criteria, we finish up with 89 papers. And from the 89 papers, we get more or less around the world, a lot of from North America, but we can see that we have a lot of experience from a lot of part of the world too. Over 4,000 patients that were describing these 89 patients, You can see the description, most of our classic bladder extrophy with over 55% of them, and the age of the primary surgery on those papers were the one that are there. The most common one was at the beginning, and we know that the shift to have a delayed surgery, it's in the last couple of years. And the age of the continence for the surgery was around 5.9 years. And other procedures to get continence, and then we can discuss this later, was around 8 years of age. The amazing thing is that probably half of the papers just state what continence was for them. And the other part of the papers, we have to interfere reading really into lines what they're meaning by continence. And then where this data come from, patients and parents provide the data. Is my child or am I continent or not? Physician was just one study and not specify how they get it. Most of the study, we didn't know how the data was provided. And then the definition. And this is all the range of definition that we found in this study. Most of them were dry either by catheters or voiding every 3 hours. But you can see all the spectrum of definition of continence that we could find. And this doesn't matter if it was one single study, multi-center, country, or primary diagnosis, all of them are not significant in difference. Dividing the whole group in different categories, you can see the range of continence published and the study that mentioned that. And so overall, we can say that the whole group was more or less in 50% of continence if we take the over 3 hours rate. Voiding, as a voluntary voiding, you can see that are less papers talking about that, and on an overall, it was nearly 30% of the patients. Other results that were probably a little amazing is that just one study named something about activity level and continence, doing sport, running, climbing, or things like that, that we know that it's important in the continence. Really half of them, or 30%, talk about night leakage. There was just mostly about day, and we know that we have issues during the night too. Some studies talk about social continence, so they can be dry or in a social environment, either with pads or being in something like this without being disturbed with the leaking. And there were no study that really objectized continence with some kind of validated survey or volume or what are we talking about. None of the studies talk about fluid taking. So if we take more volume, or we take coffee or tea, we know that we need to go more to the toilet and we produce more urine. Nothing was mentioned here. So at the end, what we can say that continence definition is really rare. It's a broad spec. The most likely, or what most people use, it's over 3 hours, but it's not something that is constant there outside. And all of the paper, most of the paper are missing a lot of information. So the invitation is to try to standardize some kind of definition of continence, and we're talking about this, but we can extrapolate this to any kind of items that we can discuss to be able to see and to compare peers with peers and see what we're doing. And with this, I will start finishing. It's how we will define success. And I think that this is really important because there are a lot of different centers, a lot of different techniques, a lot of different approach. But if we don't get a success definition for everybody, how we can say we achieve that or not? And also personal success as well. Families and patients needs different kind of success for their own. Simon Sinek, someone that I really follow because I think that he get this kind of key things, define success is a team effort, and I'm really happy with this because I think that that's why we are here. This is a team effort and we will achieve this only if we can work together. This is Cleveland in a nice days. I know that Cleveland is known, but the weather, We don't get this every single day of the year, but the day that we get it is really nice. So you're invited to join us, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Ted?